We're going to have a little bit different setup today than we usually do for our videos. I'm going to start by asking you the video question, and then as you listen to this video, you can kind of fill in the answers, okay? Uh, so hopefully the answers will stick a little bit more in your mind. We're going to be talking about theme, okay? And theme is a whole lot more than what you usually think of it as. So, our video question is going to be name 4 different elements that help to make up the theme in any piece of literature. Okay? Everybody have that? And I want to give you that right at the beginning for a couple of reasons. First of all, again, I want you to listen for the answers to that question as we go on. But also, I want to change the ideas that a lot of you have about what theme is. A lot of people think the theme is something you can express in a single word. Well, definitely, theme is not something you can express in a single word. Theme is something that you, most of the time, would have a hard time expressing even in a single sentence. So the idea of expressing theme in a word just doesn't count. Now, I know that from some of your backgrounds, you may have had situations where somebody would accept a theme as a single word. No, we're looking for you to be further into literature than just coming up with a single word for a theme. So theme cannot be in a single word and probably not done correctly, fully, thoroughly in a single sentence. Okay? So plant that seed in your mind right away. Theme is a lot more than that. Okay. So what helps us make up theme? All of the things we've talked about so far, but I'm going to read you a quick little definition of theme from a handbook to literature, which I've used as a guide for a lot of things for a long time. It says that in poetry, fiction, and drama, theme is the abstract concept which is made concrete through its representation in person, action, image, characterization, and narration in a work. Okay? So, I already gave you a big part of the answer to the video question. So, okay. So what does all of that mean? As you are trying to figure out a theme, think about the elements. I mean, you may have something that hits you in the head right away, but, if you read through the comments that you folks are making on each other's essays, you can see how people get different ideas from different readings, okay? So for you to read something and think, oh, this is the theme, and try to do it in a single word or a single sentence, that just doesn't make sense. Again, based on what we see just in the comments on each other's work. I just read some comments on Jack London's To Build a Fire. And one person said, I never thought of the idea of pride as something that was driving this guy. Okay? So, you might have had an idea that somehow the conflict between man and nature and man struggles with nature and how man really can never win in a struggle with nature, you might have thought about how that is a major part of theme, but and it would be a part of the theme in that story. But the pride driving that guy, thinking that he can do that, when he's put in a situation where he is obviously in a conflict, he as the protagonist, and I guess nature as the antagonist. You know, all of that helps us come together in moving toward a theme. You know, and somebody else said, you know, I never thought about the fact that if that story were set today, it would be very, very different. Well, isn't that part of the theme of how our whole world has changed over the course of time? Okay, so yeah, it's part of the setting, but all of that is part of the theme as well. So theme encompasses the whole thing. It's kind of getting to what the central meaning is, and a central meaning is never something that you can do in a word or a few words. A central meaning, you know, it's an abstract concept that you're working toward. It's an abstract concept. So abstract meaning not here in the palm of your hand, and it's conceptual. So it's big. It's not just simple factual. It's big. Okay, so theme is not simple like that. So really, you know, we've talked about narration. Well, does the kind of narration we see in a work help us get to the theme? Sure it does. Sure it does, okay? If you go back to A Rose for Emily, you know, how different would thematically that story seem if it came from Emily, okay, rather than from the collective first person that we see in the townspeople, okay? And even more differently, you know, it would become something else if it were from the point of view of a totally outside observer, somebody looking at it from up above and just telling us about what they observed there. You know, they're with no involvement, where the people in the town had an involvement, okay? So, you know, in story after story, the kind of narration has something to do with developing a theme. In story after story, the setting has something to do with developing the theme, okay? And certainly the kind of plot that we get helps us to develop what the whole meaning, the whole purpose of the story is. And that's all part of theme, okay? And the setup of the conflict helps us get to what the theme is all about, what the meaning is all about, what the purpose of the story is all about. So theme is not a simple thing. Theme is not something that you can express in a single word or in a few words or even a sentence. So if you try to do that in your essays, it will be very apparent, not only to me, but to your classmates who read the essays, that you didn't watch this video. Because, again, the purpose of this video is to help you expand your idea to theme being something made up of all the things we've talked about so far. Okay? You know, narration and character development. You know, you look at how, you know, we've seen different characters develop in works and how they, you know, change from one part to another. And we'll see more of that as we go forward, okay? But certainly the direction that development takes is also a thematic element, you know, something that helps us know a little bit more of what a work is all about, okay? So theme is almost uniting all of these things that we've talked about so far and putting them together into a work of literature, okay? Finding a meaning that involves all of this stuff, okay? So as you think about theme, get out of the idea that it's something that you can do simply in a word or a couple of words. It's not. It is just not, okay? It involves all of this stuff. Now, as for your essays, in general, you are doing wonderfully, okay? A few of the people in the class were a little scanty, let's say, in their last essay, not making the effort to actually develop things. So, you know, enough said about that. Develop your ideas. Don't just put them down. develop them. This isn't a course where you just, put down facts. We're looking to have you develop your ways of thinking and the reasons why you do things. And of course, reasons why is all part of theme too, okay? So if you haven't been including those in your essays, do so. And your comments are getting better. The comments have not been poor from the beginning, but more and more people are getting away from, oh, I really like what you did, and getting into what they're all about, okay? And let me say this too. I had, I think, 4 people contact me and say, I've been sick this week, and so I'm behind in my work, but I'll get my stuff to you by such and such a date. That's great. Or somebody contacted me and said, I have COVID and I just can't do it. Somebody else contacted me and said, my father had a heart attack and I just have to give my attention there. And somebody else said my mother had to go into the hospital. I trust you folks, okay? I don't think you're making this stuff up. When things like that happen, that's priority, okay? And I expect you to prioritize. That doesn't mean don't do your assignment. It means send me a text saying, I'll be late with my assignment, and here's why. Is that okay? And I'll respond to those, okay? So you guys are doing great. I'm having a lot of fun. I hope you are. The comments that I'm getting from you seem to indicate you are. So keep up the great work, okay? Have a good week.